All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Phoenixville Public Library. Those in Zoom land and those in the room here. I'm Mark Pinto, the Adult Services Director here, and welcome to our budding and seasoned genealogists that are here tonight for this presentation on FamilySearch.org, the world's largest shared family tree. And we are pleased to have with us tonight to present Sherry and Eric Knight, who are formerly or recently leaders of the Pottstown Family Search Center of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So Eric and Sherry, thanks for doing the presentation, and take it away.
Okay, thank you for inviting us. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints sponsors a genealogy conference every year. It's the largest in the world. It's called Roots Tech, and it's coming up February 29th to...
No, she's good.
Should I start that over?
No, you're good. You're good.
All right. And Roots Tech is coming up February 29th to March 2nd of this year. For decades, the church ran Roots Tech as a 3-day conference of workshops on genealogy every spring. 30,000 people would go to Salt Lake City and go to all the classes and things for 3 days. Then the pandemic hit, and the church put it online, free and virtual. And the first year that they did that, there were 1 million people who signed up to participate. And it's basically a matter of putting in your email address if you want to be there. The next year, there were 3 million people. Last year, they opened it up to in-person in Salt Lake City again if people wanted to do that, but they kept the online, virtual, free, and there was 3 million people again. And there's a feature called Relatives at Roots Tech, so that people who are participating in Roots Tech, whether they're doing it online or in person, can be connected to other participants in Roots Tech who are researching the same family lines. You'll be showing people who are on your lines who said they wanted to be contacted if anybody showed up who was working on their lines. And last year, 500,000 people did that, got connected with other participants at Roots Tech who were working on their same family lines. So if you want to do that, that's rootstech.org. It's really simple. It's basically your email address. You can see the classes and conferences online, but you can also sign up for relatives at Roots Tech. Get in touch with people who are on your lines.
If you sign up now, too, they'll start sending you information about it. And you just sign up using your email.
One of the things we have felt about researching ancestors and family history in general is that the studies show you have more resilient kids if they know what their family stories are. That they've done studies that show that, if you know what the story is. And we have one of those in our lines. I remember a man who came from England, set up in Pittsburgh, he had a chair making factory. One night it caught fire and the whole thing burned down and all the chairs. He had become a ruling elder in the Presbyterian church too, and the fire was burning and everything was being destroyed and it wasn't insured. When he became aware that his 2 youngest children had gotten lost somehow, and they were just panicking about that, and he was looking everywhere to try to find those children. And 2 people from his congregation came up to him and said, "We've got your kids. We found them, we've taken them home, we put them to bed, they're okay." And I felt like he's never gonna own a chair making factory again. He will do other kinds of jobs. But I knew that he went to bed that night thanking God that his children were safe. And I think that those kinds of stories are inspirational to your kids. We try to share things about ancestors with our 13-year-old granddaughter who's in New Hampshire. We don't get to see her very much. And so she got a smartphone 2 years ago when she was 11, and I have sent her a picture by text every single day since then. And on Sundays, I send pictures of ancestors or relatives and do it that way. But FamilySearch.org is the world's largest shared family tree. And this will help get those stories down to lots of descendants, because they'll be able to see the same thing. The difference between a shared family tree and like Ancestry.com and some of the other sites on Ancestry.com, you'll build your own family tree, and you'll be able to edit it or change it. And if you go in there to look for your ancestor, that ancestor's name may show up in 25 different family trees. You will have to look in each one of those 25 different trees to try to find the information, everything that you can get about that ancestor. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, FamilySearch.org, is different. It's the world's largest shared family tree. So everybody's only in there once. And because of that, all the memories and documents and people they all go to that same page and they all work on that same page and try to get that one as accurate as they possibly can. And on the memories section and stuff on that, those people's pages, you are putting stuff on there, and anybody that wants to look up that person will see those memories. In our family, it worked out good. My grandfather was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the 1920s. He was married and had several children, and it was unusual to call men at that time who were married, but they did, and he was gone for 2.5 years, and my grandmother and the 4 kids, almost 5 kids, were still in Utah. Grandpa wrote letters to Grandma all the time, from Washington, Oregon, where he was, to Utah, where she was. And one of my cousins, and I have 73 cousins on that line because there were 13 kids. One of the cousins winds up with all these letters, and he just scans them in on FamilySearch.org and puts them on Grandpa's memory page. And I sat down one afternoon and read them all the descendants will be able to do that. Grandpa's only in FamilySearch.org once, and all the memories and things about him are right there. And the same thing happened with my grandmother's personal history. She sat down in the 1950s one day and wrote a little history of her life. And my uncle did a book a couple of decades later, and put her story that she had written in his genealogy book. But now we have that story online on Grandma's memories, so that all of her descendants can see that same story. And our generation is the bridge. You know, we have gone to cemeteries and family history centers, and we've talked to the living relatives, and we've done a lot to collect the information. But the generations beyond us are going to start with the computer, and they may not go very far beyond that. So what you want to have to be passed down, it's really a good thing to get it on something like FamilySearch.org and get all those memories together and have a permanent record that people can get into. The reason the church does genealogy is because we believe that families can be eternal, that family relationships can extend into eternity. And when there's temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like the one in Salt Lake or the one they built in Philadelphia a few years ago, when active members of the church get married in a temple, it does not say "till death do you part." It says "for time and all eternity." We believe that that's going to be a permanent relationship. But in addition to that, we want to make those blessings of that eternal family available to our ancestors. We research ancestor names, and then we go to the temple and by proxy get those people sealed so that their marriages are for time and all eternity, and the children are sealed to them for time and all eternity. And the church has been doing this for 200 years. So there was a big database of information that they had, and people like my ancestors who joined the church in the 1850s and 60s in Scotland, they were into genealogy. The church was into building temples and getting research on your ancestors. So they got it really far back, and at different times in the last couple hundred years, they've hired professional genealogists and stuff and taken that back. But you do it to get temple work done for your relatives. But you also wanted to make it available to the whole world. You know, Roots Tech is open to the public and free. The website is free and open to the public. It doesn't show the names of living people, but it does show deceased people, and so people can go in there and look that up.
You can put those people who are still alive in, but only you can see them. Only the people who put them in can see that. And so what happens in that situation when that person does pass away, then you have a situation where you have multiple records, and then you just go through and merge all those records.
Yeah, if all the kids put grandma and grandpa in their own living relative person, and then grandma and grandpa dies, then you merge those, because all those, the computer will give every one of those entries of grandma and grandpa a different computer ID number if they're a living person. So you wind up with living people with different ID numbers, and then you get them merged when they're no longer living on the earth. How many of you have an account on FamilySearch.org? Some people who do, and some people who don't. Okay.
I think so.
All
I
right.
mean, if you've used it, you have an account, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Although Sherry is going to show you some things where you can use it without having an account on there. They're getting it much more robust about things you can do without actually even having an account. But you know, once you start on it, you really need an account to really build your tree from there. And that tree, we found the really cool thing about FamilySearch is that you're going along and you start looking back a little bit, and suddenly you found everybody else who's done that work on that same line, and you can just hook into that line, and it becomes part of your tree.
Because they're only in there once. So if you put in your living people and you get back to where people have passed away, you may find out that they're already on Family Tree, the Family Tree part of FamilySearch.org. And then you just click. And that person attaches to your file, and all their ancestors and everybody they've got in the tree attaches to your file, because everybody's only in there once. So if you find somebody that is on your line and you can attach them to your tree, you get all the ancestors. And we have helped people find their family trees on FamilySearch, and this has happened time and time again. They put in 3 generations of living people, and then they get back to the person who's after that, who's passed away. And they put in the name and some information about it, and FamilySearch goes back and says, is this your person? We have a person that's got all that information on him that's in FamilySearch. Is this your person? And you look at it, yes, and then you just click. You get that person attached to your file and all the stuff that goes behind them. So people wind up with thinking they have no ancestors, and they wind up finding out they've got ancestors going back 300 years. Yes.
I have a question. So if no one has done the research on this program, then none of your ancestors would be on it. Is that correct? Or they are there somehow?
Somebody had to put them in.
Somebody had to do the research.
Somebody had to put them in to Family Tree. But the records are there to search. There's a lot of searchable records. So if you're looking for ancestors, there's also a way to search on just government and church records and things that are, you can search in 2 places. One is to search on Family Tree, the Family Tree part of the site. That's been put in by people about their ancestors. And if you find somebody in there, that's where you can attach records. Those are all related people, and it is the world's largest shared family tree. But you can also on FamilySearch do a just straight records search, where you put in the person's name and information, and you get records that are coming up, whatever they've got, different kinds of death certificates and marriage certificates and censuses, and you can look at those and try to see if that's your person or not. In Family Tree, they're only in there once, so you can, and so their name only shows up once in a Family Tree search. It's this person there, and there it shows up. But if you do just a record search, I'll show you the difference. Up here in the search thing, search bar, you can go down here to Family Tree and click in that and see if they're in Family Tree. But you can also do, I'll show you in Family Tree here. I'll put in my grandfather's name. He's the one I use for everything. checking, we went to the search thing, and we looked down under the family tree part, and we'll put in his information to check on the shared family tree, if he's there. And he will show up. Here he is. He's on Family Tree, and you'll notice that there are a bunch of other Andersons of various kinds with James in their name and stuff like that goes on for lots and lots of entries. But the computer has put him up at the front. It's figured out this is the person who matches those dates and places, and that's him. So you just click on his name, and you're going to see him in Family Tree, his person page. Family Tree has both a tree part, we'll look at the tree part, and this is a person page, so everybody that's in there once, this is what their page looks like. A nice thing about it, you can view his tree, is you can always view whoever you're looking at, click on View My Relationship. And it will tell you up here who that is, my grandfather, and it will show how that is. And I'll show you on another thing to look at, how to have this go back when it's a lot farther than your grandfather. But you can always look at your relationship. And here it'll say name and birth and death, and christening and burial, and down here it got residences and different events that there's records for. Then he and his wife and their children, and on the right-hand side his parents and his siblings. This is all person page stuff, other relationships, brief life history. This is in the details part of his page. Then there is the sources. And Grandpa's got 53 of those. Those are attached electronically too. You've looked up Grandpa in search records and you have found certificates and records about him, and you just click and they go in as a source. So here is a tender one. This was the death of his little daughter. One of the 13 children, the very first one died. Her name was Ruth. And when we click on that source, we can see the original document. And it brings it home. And sometimes when we teach to like teenagers and stuff, it helps them to get a sense. There's something about looking at the record. This is the original record. You can see it right on the computer, and any of his descendants can see it, or anybody else. They're a young couple. They just had their first baby, and Ruth dies a few months later. They don't even know they're going to go on to have another 12 kids. It's just you feel how that is to be a young couple and to lose your first baby. And so there's the death certificate, and there are 53 other sources. Get back to the other family tree record. It's got 53 records, and the thing about the records is that on sources is that the name of the person who submitted the source is on there. You can click on their name, and you can always message them through FamilySearch. Up here you can do such messages. Yes, go ahead.
I have an account, and I have found occasionally that someone other than myself has put in information, who I don't know, they only are using their last couple initials. And they put in information that I know for a fact is incorrect. One time, somebody did something using my name and had me listed as dead.
Yes. I've had that.
That was a little shocking.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, I'm not familiar enough or comfortable enough with the software to know how do you correct that? And how do you have the person who made the error politely back off and stop dealing with your account? Because if they're getting one thing wrong, I've noticed the same person has gotten 3 or 4 other things wrong, and I don't know who it is. I've messaged them to stop, but I don't know that that's making any difference. So I realize that may be down the road for what you're gonna talk about tonight, but I suspect I'm not the only person to whom that's happened.
Sure.
That happened to us, yeah. We
Okay.
looked one day, and my husband and his sister were listed as deceased. And so we contacted the person and sent them a message, but we also contacted FamilySearch support and said, we are not deceased, you know, these people are living, and they looked into it and got it changed, and we did send a message to them. But the thing that you do is, on the site, is go to collaborate on that person page. Click on his name, and you go to this person page that you just looked at. Over here across the top, we did details, we did sources. Here's collaborate. And you can write notes, a note or a discussion, and you put in a note and you explain what happened. That I am so-and-so, I know for a fact that, you know, this, what the accurate information is. And then you put people on notice who are looking at this file, that here's what the controversy is about that. You message that person and tell them what the truth is. That's one of the dangers of a shared family tree. If everybody can put stuff on this one page, and that's with one person. But you get pretty good about getting those sources on so that it gets more and more accurate. And the more and more people put stuff on there and the sources to electronically have certificates for these events and dates and places, it tends to get more and more accurate, and you have less of that. But you can post on Collaborate, and you can message that person. And then Grandpa's got memories. These are the things you can post. These are a lot of things from him. And all his descendants can see all this stuff. And there is, but let's look at the tree for Grandpa. Now we're looking at the tree over here, the tree. And we're gonna change it so it shows 7 generations. This is a fan chart. And these are really nice things to show people where their generations are when you've got a lot of people in here. And you can check, this is showing 7 generations back. I'm in the middle, my parents, mother, their parents, going back. And you can color code it. You can, over here you can click on birthplaces. And here's the color code. United States, people born in the United States are blue. Denmark is pink. British colonial America is brown. Scotland is bright purple. And United Kingdom is light brown. England and unknown. And you can see things at a glance. We did this for our 13-year-old granddaughter when we were back there in August, New Hampshire. We did a fan chart of her ancestors. Then you can click over here on sources, and there's a grid for that. If there's no sources, then it's a 0. If there's 1 to 4, you get a light gray. If there's there's 5 to 9, you get this 10, and if there's 10 plus, you get orange. So the more documentation you've got and sources on these people, the less likely it is that there's gonna be mistakes. Keep increasing those. You can click on who's got stories on their memories. Same grid, orange is 10 plus stories. Who's got photos, same grid, 10 plus. And research helps if you, the computer will tell you some things to research that they have figured out. Purple ones are research that you can look at that needs to be done. The blue ones are record hints. That's what I wanted to show you. This is, because those records are being indexed all the time and showing, pulling out dates and places and people from different documents and getting them indexed. The computer is always looking at those newly indexed records to see if they can find out where they go in Family Tree. And if they find out that it's on, they think it's on your tree, you will be sent a record hit, and that's what these blue ones are. This person page. It wants you to look at the record and see if it's your person or not. It says Pennsylvania civil marriages over here on the little blue icon. That's a record hint. And it's going to show up what's on the record. You can view the record. You can compare it to what's over here on the detail page, and you can see, okay, this is Robert Snodgrass. He married to Jane White, 11 September 1780 in Lancaster. I know those are my people. This
Would it
is a
say
record
where-
that's about them.
Would it say who was the source of putting that there?
Yes.
Before you go off that page, please.
It's Pennsylvania civil marriages, 1677 to 1950. That's where this source came from, yes.
Can you view the records? Because that's
It says
Yeah.
view record.
View record, okay.
the original. Okay, there
Yeah,
it is.
view
Thank
original
you.
document.
Thank you.
And here's a transcript of your information they pulled out. But it's a marriage record, and it got indexed,
That's
and
nice.
so I can attach it to him because, but all those things that were on the fan chart that look blue, are record hits. You can spend an afternoon going through them and attaching accurate records and adding to the sources that you've got. Let's look at Family Tree. Besides the fan chart, which is innovative and nice, and when you print it off, it works out really well. But it's not the only thing to do. You can do landscape. So that will come out. And you just keep checking on these, and this time, if you see a little blue icon thing on this landscape view, that's a record hint. So if you're just looking at your tree and you see a blue thing, that is a record hint. Okay, let's see. If you
Each one of those names and information on there, when you click on it, it will expand out to show you the full information from that. So this figure that she's showing you right now is just showing the names and how they're all related to each other, and it goes back to the right there, and will more and more people back there as you add more and more people. But each name that you put on there, you can then click on it and it will expand out to all the information for that name.
I've just clicked on William Henry Wangenstein, who is Eric's grandfather, and this comes up right away, and you can check more information about that person. Maybe you're just pulling it up on the landscape view of the tree, but then it'll pull up all this information right there. And you can also click on his person page and go see a page that's all about person information on it. You can get there really easily from here. If you don't have an account on Family Tree, oh, I wanted to show you the search thing. When we had pulled up Grandpa Anderson's name on Family Tree, he was only in there once. We went to his person page, we saw all his stuff. But if you go to the search bar and go down here to records, you can look for people that are not necessarily going to be on Family Tree. You just put in record, search historical records. This is not on the shared Family Tree. This is just historical records. Go ahead and put his name in here, whatever information you have. So these are just historical records, and you'll see this time it's showing lots of records on Grandpa. His marriage record is in here, his church record is in here, military draft registration, census, 1940, 1935, draft registration for the First World War and the Second World War is in here. And these are all on his sources. They've been transferred to his person page under sources. So these are there, but if you're just looking up somebody, not worrying about Family Tree, you just want to look for records, you just put them in under search for records, and then you can click on these things. Yes?
The name Anderson also can be spelled with an E also, so when you're doing your search, how can you delineate that something wasn't written as an E when it should have been an O, or vice versa? Is there a way to search that?
Well, if
Because
you're
it all
looking.
depends on how it's inputted, so it's Anderson, S-O-N, but it could be an S-E-N.
Yes, that's correct.
Because you're reading an old document, you know, depends on who.
You're reading an old document. When people put them in, there, and she's talked about two different types of searches. One is you're searching through the tree to find out if their information is already there. And then the second one is you do a records document search. And it is true that sometimes takes a little bit of work and effort, in that you need to be able to not only look at that one record, but several different types of records. And that's one of the nice things about the indexing, is that they, if you put in the information for that one person, the date, the place, and it will bring up all the records, not only that will equal that, but also some close records as well with it. And so you'll be able to see the names and the dates and places for not only the person you're looking for, but other people who could be your person, but may actually be someone else.
And you can keep looking. I just scrolled to the bottom, this on James Anderson page, we're on page 1 of 245. So there's this number of entries on page 1, and then there's 245 pages of that many entries on each page. So you would look through it. In our case, the Anderson is an SON for a lot of generations, so we know that. But you could look under SEN, could check that, and these are records, lots of records.
I would guess if you went further enough down, you'd have that SEN somewhere in that list.
Yes, you would possibly see that, but
Yeah.
as you're going down, you're seeing, they give you the names that are as close as possible first, and then as you go down from that, you'll see other names that are close to it, and you can make a decision. You need to do the research on that particular name to see if it's the same or is it a different person.
How does the site handle translation? The documents are in other languages and...
Right. So, in some of the cases when you bring up a document, for instance, a Italian or German or French document, some of the material has been translated, and you will see that translation on the side. And so some of it's there, and some of it has not gotten there yet. And I'll talk to you a little bit about volunteerism at the end of this, as you know, they use people to go through documents, pull out the information. They also use people, whoever can, to do translations, you know, and so some of them translations will be there and some of them will not. And if you are a German speaker or a French speaker and you want to help them out, you can do that.
And also on search, we've searched family tree and historical records. I'll show you Research Wiki down here at the bottom on search. This is the whole world. Research Wiki helps you find out what records are available. We're going to put in the search bar Chester County, Pennsylvania. This, lots and lots of, all over the world, locations, where records are, what kind of thing. Here's the table of contents on the side. And over on the right is, county seat is Westchester, was organized March 10th, 1682. The parent county was colonial lands. Neighboring counties, Berks, Montgomery, Lancaster, Delaware, Cicely. County courthouse, record dates, birth records from 1852, marriage records 1852, death records 1852. Court records 1681, land records 1716, probate records 1714, census records 1790. It will tell you if there's record loss. Occasionally in a county, like some important record depository burned down, and it will tell you that there was a record loss. Over here on the table of contents is all kinds of records. It tells you about them. What's in there? Here's the cities, the boroughs, unincorporated communities, census designated places, townships, historic communities. History timeline that starts with Bible records and biographies. You can do this for just lots of places all over the world. You go to the search function and go down there to Research Wiki, put in a geography that you want. And it's a great way to get familiar with some place that maybe you don't know very much about, and you want to find out what kind of things are there that you could look into. We need to look at some fun things. Okay, up here in activities, All About Me. You can get into All About Me from the homepage without having an account. They will let you get onto this. And you can also do it through activities when you're on an account. This is fun to do with your family. It's going from my birth year, which was 1950. But you can go over here to view a different year and put whatever different year you want. Share this with your family. The name, meaning, and origin, name popularity, how many people shared your name. 266,381 in family tree. Where in the world does your name come from? You can click on when you want your first or your last name. A lot of people in the United States and some in Canada. Then it goes through fun stuff about that year. Top news stories, top technology breakthroughs. First class stamp was in 1953 cents. Most popular film was Cinderella, not to be confused with who got winner of Best Picture, which was All About Eve. Movie ticket was 55 cents. You can just keep changing the date year and go through this and show this. Gets down heavily into sports stuff. See, a gallon of gas was 27 cents. It gets into sports, popular song, Grand Slam winners, top news of the United States, soccer champions, population of the U.S. and the world, and President of the United States, who won the World Series, NBA champion, college football champion, college basketball champion, baseball champion, NFL champion, and who was the World Cup champion. So you can just keep changing the years and pull that up for anybody. Another really fun thing to see once you've got an account on here, because everybody's only in there once, the lines are pretty clear about who you're connected to. all kinds of generations. And here is famous relatives. Once you've got an account there. Computers going back 16 generations to find people that you are related to. It starts off with leaders. And we're related to a bunch of presidents, but part of that is because they go back 16 generations. So here's James Madison. All you have to do is click on the picture. And it shows you exactly how you're related to James Madison. And this is the easiest way I've ever found to explain to people what fifth cousin 7 times removed means. It's crystal clear. It says up here that James Madison is my 5th cousin 7 times removed. What does that mean? Okay. We go up to the founding couple. We're back to 1526 and 1525. It's not a close connection to James Madison, but Francis and Alice are the parents. Bartholomew and Francis are the children, and this Francis and that Margaret are the grandchildren. So they are first cousins. So that's where you start counting. Francis and Margaret are first cousins, they're grandchildren. First cousins, their kids are second cousins, they're third cousins, fourth cousins, fifth cousins, and that's where the tie across to James Madison is, at the 5th cousin line. So you went down 5th cousins to get to where James Madison is. But I'm on a different generation than James Madison. So we start from the 5th cousins where they matched up, and we start counting. And here's the removals. First cousin removes, first removed, second removed, third removed, fourth removed, 5th removed, 6th removed, and B, 7th removed. But it's really easy to see. You just start with the first cousins, count down until it matches up with the president, and then count down how many generations you are removed from them. So, let's see. Besides having presidents and stuff, it's got inventors and scientists. Everybody's related to lots of people. You know, they show, you build an account on here, you get 3 generations back, you find a deceased person's already in here, and click on their stuff, and you wind up being connected to all these people. And you can click on their pictures and learn more about them and see the first pages. And who else is down here? Entertainers and artists, Bing Crosby, Shirley Temple, Elvis Presley. And you get to church leaders and pioneers, people who walked across the plains who are not necessarily the same as church leaders. Then you get down to sports figures, and the thing that they call trailblazers, which includes. Okay, and the other thing you can do that's fun is okay, I'm going to turn you over to indexing here in a minute. Searches, first pages. You can look on other websites about church in the FamilySearch centers. I've got a thing on FamilySearch centers, but you would need to look them up on FamilySearch to see how to contact them, what's going on. There's one in Reading and Brewhall. The Pottstown one is only open Sundays noon to 1 for an hour after church at this point.
But generally, you can make an appointment.
Now you're on my Zoom account.
I have moved, okay.
You've gone back too far.
Go forward. Go forward. Forward, not back.
Forward arrow.
Forward there. Left, upper left, upper left.
Okay,
Right there.
Okay.
Maybe you closed it. Yep, apparently you closed it, okay. Let's get rid of this. Okay, now, oh, okay, that was just a different tab. Actually, you have two tabs open.
It's all right.
Okay. There.
We get to the very beginning. Yes, I will close out so you can see that my account. You can see what it's like if you just go in here without having an account. The front page of FamilySearch.org, what will you find out about your ancestors? Put in information here, even for Grandpa Anderson, if you don't have an account, if you put some stuff in here, it will show you some things from his memories. And then to see them close up, you'd have to open an account, but it will show you some things. Yes?
My brother did a lot of research out in Utah through the Mormons, but it was about 35 years ago. Would all that work be on this?
Only if he put it on himself or someone else put that information on.
But they
It's-
tried to transfer it. These are descendants of previous kinds of things that were family trees for the
Yeah,
church.
so back when he was doing it, was probably personal ancestral file. And that is no longer being used much, although some people will bring it up just to get old records that they put in from that. So you can still get copies of it to be able to use to get that information. And if nobody has put it in, you get a PAF application and put it on your computer, and then go back, and you need the information that he had. It usually is in a file. And then you take that file and run it through PAF, and then you can see all the names and everything like that. And then you can transfer that over, name by name to personal, to this.
You have to transfer each.
The
You
reason
do.
you have to do it name by name is because of duplication. You're only in there, family tree is only got one person in there. You can't transfer a whole bulk of, 200 names into FamilySearch without having duplicates. Or there needs to be a way to check for duplicates if the person is already in there. So that's why it's a one-on-one thing. It's very cumbersome. But if you're on the first page here and you don't have an account, tells you can research those historical documents on records, look up ancestor profiles, family relationships, find a guide in person or online. It will show you about getting to family search centers, and you can set up 20-minute consultations about some kinds of records. You can see the options here, and wanted to show you these. Not sure where to begin. Choose your next step. You can just go through all. Then you went from the front page to next step. These are all things you can pull up. Make family discoveries, make personal discoveries, start your genealogy, shape family memories, create a family tree, find ancestors and records, get involved in family history fun. And that's all on the front page. You can look at those things. But I'm gonna let her do indexing.
Sign back in.
Do you want me under?
No, sign yours in. Okay, so, one of the things that is really important to FamilySearch is it all runs on volunteers. And even some of the software, in fact, the majority of the software is done by volunteers. And so, you know, it's a fabulous thing. The opportunities that you have of being able to go in and do a record search and find records that apply to your ancestor, or even on the other type of record search, of course, is the family tree record search. And you can search in family tree to see if someone else has already put it in, and then once that happens, you can hook into that, and suddenly you have a big tree that you had not had to put in yourself, that is there for you. And you know, so you have those situations. Now, it's very, very important that if you're going to stick a name in, to do a family or a tree search first, because that avoids the problem of you sticking in somebody else, something that someone else has already done. And then you end up with two records that later on have to be merged together. And FamilySearch will tell you that, oh, this record and this record look alike, do they need to be merged? And so it will remind you about things like that. And so that type of thing is extremely important. And then secondly of all, when you're putting in memories, pictures and documents and stories and things like that, it's very important to give it a title, because if it doesn't have a title, it will disappear after 3 or 4 years. So once you have a title, it becomes permanent, and those things are extremely important. One of the nice things about memories is that you can put in these stories that your grandparents tell you, or somebody else from another line tells you about that, and you put those into the stories. But I learned about the story of my great-grandfather, Frederick August Wangenstein, who came to America as a very young boy. And as he was getting off of the boat, he looked up and threw his hat up into the air, and he walked the direction that the wind blew his hat. And he'd gotten off in New York Harbor, and he walked all the way to Yonkers, which I thought was that was a job. And at any rate, when he got there, he found a wholesale grocery store with a sign in the window that said, "Delivery boy wanted." So he took the sign off, walked in with the sign, and said, "I'm your boy." And so from that point, he became the owner of the largest wholesale grocery in Yonkers, New York. And so I was able to write that story in there, and so his relatives and aunts and descendants, many of them have read that story and told me that it was so interesting that we were able to stick that story about how he came to America and got his start in America.
So what was your title? I mean, you have to name this story, otherwise it would disappear.
Yes, yeah, you just, and you just put in, I don't remember what the title, it was something about Frederick August Wangenstein, and, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
Well,
but it was,
I just don't understand what you have to include in the title so that it doesn't.
any title will be fine. So if you
Don't
put
leave
it
it untitled.
Yes, so if you put I probably just put in Frederick August Wangenstein's story about, and some other little bits of information. But it's important that you do that on these memories, otherwise they will disappear later on. And so, at any rate, those types of things. So, as I said, this whole thing works on volunteers, and there's 3 types of volunteering work that you can do. One, you can also I've never done it before because I've never been good enough to do the translation, but you can do that too, but it takes a little bit of work to get in contact with them, and you can contact and do the things that you need to do. One thing that's real important here that Sherry didn't tell you about is this right here, the circle with the question mark in it. That is a where you can get help, information on that. Very important, and it changes as you move through the program. So different areas will give you different helps, but you can always type in the question that you want here. It's very interesting. And there's also ways that you can contact the people who put together FamilySearch, and there are extremely talented volunteers who can tell you all the things that you need to do to make things work, including how to find certain ancestors, and so you can do that with this information right here. So it's a very, very important piece of information, is that's where you get the help that you need, and including that you can contact the FamilySearch people.
Yes, FamilySearch support, there's a phone number for North America, and just call up and ask questions. It's really helpful. Just call FamilySearch, whatever you're having a problem with, technology or other questions. They'll help you out.
So now, as I mentioned, there is the indexing, and that's where the majority of the volunteers show up and help things out. And here get involved, and you can go down, you can do an overview. It will tell you about each one of the opportunities, and there's 3 opportunities. I'll go on talking to you about that here. And it tells you about the people that you've done indexing work for. So if you went into a document and you pulled out a name, a date, a place, and then sent it back, that information, and there's forms, there's windows that will show you how to put it in, what to put in, and the specific information that they're looking for each type of document. And it goes on from that. And then this right here just is just a prep type talk type thing. Tells you a little bit about the things that they get to do. And so indexing is extremely important in that that's the toughest part of it, because what you're doing is you're looking through a document that most of the time is handwritten, and you recognize the problems that there's these people who are doing a census, or they're doing documents, things like that, and they've been writing this all day long, and their handwriting gets a little bit tough to read. And so for one, it's very important for somebody to come in, take a look at that and understand that, and they give you a lot of helps on how to understand, especially the letters and writing from back a couple hundred years ago, which does not look nearly like what we have these days. And so you find that. And so there's lots and lots of helps with it, but essentially what you're doing is they give you a document, and they will do it by state, and they will, a little while ago, we had the opportunity to do the census, what was it, 1950? 20.
Oh, the one that we were able to go through was the 1950.
Yeah, the 1950 census. And what they did is they had people go through these and pull out information. So that became very, very important, because when that census came up, people would have to look through reams of documents to be able to find names. But with the fact that there was a big effort by all of these volunteers, and they went through the entire census, 1950 census, pulled out all of the names, places, and dates in there, and those are now what are called indexed. And what indexing means is once they pull that information out, it's associated with that document. And so the document goes in what's called a database, and that's where you find these reams and reams and reams of documents. But the entry points to those, to be able to find a specific document, is that indexing, where you find names, places, and dates. And you type in a name or a place or date, and usually it's all three of them together, and you find that it will point you right to the document that is associated with that. And that is an extremely helpful thing. And so that, when Sherry was talking about these record searches, and they go in and look for documents, that is what has happened earlier, is that people have gone through and indexed these with the names, dates, and places, and when they come out, as you identified with the fact that you get the closest right at the beginning, and then it goes down, so there's some that are closer and farther, a little farther and farther away, and then you can take a look at something that this looks like it might be a possibility of some ancestor, even though the document here says that it talks about that ancestor as well. And so those are important things about that type of thing. And so you have the indexing, which will allow you to set up. No projects right at the moment. I think that's probably because they're working on their software right at the moment. Because usually what it'll do is we'll print a list of states here, or right now there's the Montana census, which everybody is working on, and they'll go through on that, and they have that in here. And so, frequently you will see a list of states, or you can put in a state that you want to help and do the indexing on, and it will try to find one on there for you, or it will tell you, everybody's done that state, and so they, but as they find new documents, those go in by the state, and what will happen is that I was talking to about the Schwenkfelder Library, where we had the opportunity to help them make pictures of all their old records, and probably within about 6 months to a year, those will start showing up on this, and they will be able to, people will look through them and will be able to pull the places, names, and dates out of them, and those become the entry points for that database of documents. So you don't have to look through that database. All you have to do is type in a name, a place, and a date on there, and that will go in and will find the documents that are associated with that. And so, so then there's a one that a lot of people do this, especially if they're sitting around waiting for a bus or they're waiting for something like that. What they do is they show you a document and they highlight a name within that document and they say, this is what we think that is. Do you think that's correct? And you say, yep, that's correct. Or no, that's Jose, not Joe. And so you get the opportunity, and it's real simple, and people get an opportunity to be a part of this, just by doing something very simple like that. Then a full name review is a step up from that, And what this is putting names and places and dates into the format that the computer wants. And so frequently people have got at a place, they've got the names of that place a little bit out of order from what the standard is. And so what they will do here is that brings that up, shows you that, and it will say, we think it's this, or we think it's this. Do you agree? And you can say, yes, I agree, it's this one right here. Or you can say, no, it needs to be such and such. And so those are the things that you can do if you want to help out, because like I said, this whole thing runs on volunteers. So, anyway, any other questions here?
Yeah, so this indexing, so for example, if I'm on my account and I have a record, it's a family record, say the Bible type thing, where it's all handwritten, okay? And if I scan that into the database, will that be indexed, or do I have to actually index it myself?
No, what happens, the way the indexing works is, like I mentioned, the Schwenkfelder Library, they go in and they make pictures of all those data, and they put that into a big database, and then the indexing pulls those documents out and says find the names, places, names, and dates in that, and it gives you a window that you can type those places, dates, and names in. And when I used to do obituaries, and obituaries are a lot of fun because you find out the stories of all these people, astronauts and I did James Brown's mother, and I did Lady Bird Johnson, and I've done astronauts and things like that, and so it's kind of fun, to just look through that, and so you can, what you're looking for is you're looking for all the names that show up in that document, and then the dates that are associated with that, and any places if they're asking for places. Sometimes they only ask for names, sometimes they only ask for places, and so it's you do what the instructions tell you to do on it, and so that's how that happens. So if your information, what you want to do is you want to take a picture of that document, and then you put it in the into memories right here, and that will save that for all time. As long as you put a title with it, and then so what that means is that you put that in there now, and then anybody who's related to your ancestor there and is looking for information about that, when they go in that, they open up memories and they see the story, or they see the document, or they see whatever that you want in there. So, any other questions?
What do you do about names that get changed?
Oh,
along the
yes.
way?
When they come to the United States.
Well, not only that, even while they're here.
Yes.
Because grandfather was K-H-A-L-E-Y, and then his son was C-A-L-E-Y.
Yes.
So how do you resolve that, or you just put a comment in there to?
Yes.
Go to collaborate on their person page.
But you can also put the story in memories as well. And, he changed this because of such and such.
Well, I have no idea why he changed it, but that's, was able to find that. And of
Yeah.
course, his wife had changed her name from her birth name being her middle name to her first name, and, it was pretty crazy going through those people.
Oh, sure, yeah, and that's where both Collaborate and Memories are really, really important, especially when you find a person who's got his name changed, and you put that information in Memories and in Collaborate, so then anybody else who comes there and looks, well, that's not the right name, but they can look and Collaborate and say, oh, I see, they changed that name. And
The other thing I have was them changing their age.
oh, yeah.
And I could see where it happened.
Yeah, and then, you laugh about that, but, frequently people do that, and a census comes up and they don't give their correct age or they don't give their correct status, and they do that because they don't want people to know. And, and so that information, once you find out the true information, that you can put it in Collaborate and Memories.
Where do you find Collaborate?
Let's
On
see.
the person page,
Oh, yeah,
across the
right.
top, details, memories, sources, there's a thing for Collaborate, add a note, add a discussion, put it all, everything that needs to be explained, make a note.
So when you saw the names in the tree, you click on one of those names and the person page comes up, a small one comes up first, and then you can expand that to the large page. And you can get that, all the information about that person. But that's where you put in, the memories are right on top, and they're fairly important. But Collaborate is also important. And the main reason for collaboration is because of the fact that something is not the same, or somebody has tried to make a change and it's incorrect, and then you can put that information in Collaborate, and that's important on that type of thing as well.
Questions from anyone on Zoom? You've been quiet tonight, folks. Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like.
Nothing there. Okay. Any other questions?
When you have really old dates,
Yes.
my husband's family, there's things to the 12th century Great Britain.
Oh, yeah, those
How
are
can you
tough.
trust that? I mean, can you? There's no way I can validate that.
The church is trying to, actually tells people, we are trying to straighten out all the Middle Age records. When people try to send in their latest thing that they found out from the 1300s or something, the church will say, hold on that, we're working on synthesizing everything about those records that we can, because there's so much confusion and duplication.
Yeah, and frequently you can find documents, it's pretty hard to read from back that time frame, but you can find documents, and you can't always trust even the documents from back then, but you do the best you can. And excuse me. There's also another thing that under that circle question mark, not here, but let's see, community is where you can find links to groups, and those groups, and you can put in that you're looking for such and such a time frame, an area. Sometimes there are people who specifically do researches back in that area, and once again, it's just all a bunch of volunteers who get together and do that type of thing, and they pool their information and make it possible that other people can know what was going on back at that time, and whether the documents that they're seeing are accurate enough to be able to use them. So, any other questions?
Just one. From what I'm confused because I was told when I first got into this back in the 90s that the middle-aged European royalty in particular was extremely well documented. You're saying that's not the case?
Oh, there's plenty on Family Tree that goes back to the Middle Ages, but in some situations, the church has said, we're getting that area together. You know, we're trying to get that together. Not, I don't think anybody would be prohibited from putting their,
I'm trying to put it in, I'm just saying, I thought that the royal.
Yes, the royal lines are fairly well, you know, but it's a very narrow portion of the royal lines. When you come to the side stuff from the royal lines is where, you know, you run into real situations that, you know, and once again, you know, back then, lots of people gave false information because they didn't want the right information going out to people. And so those things are really hard to find, and you have to find them in official documents and things like that.
I've viewed a lot of these records pretty skeptically, because I family tree, when I was doing this back in the 90s, I got back to 80 AD with Son of Od or something like that in Wales, and I said,
Yeah.
hard to believe, you know?
That's
Yeah.
what I have in there.
Yeah, very true. But you do the best you can.
You do the best you can.
but you can get it back pretty far. If it goes through a royal line that's documented in the Middle Ages, you know, and then you plug into a biblical line, people wind up with stuff back to Adam. You know, biblical line goes back and goes all the way through all those genealogies and stuff.
We're not sure if it's
You're not sure
totally
if it's accurate in the middle.
but they've been able to do it.
Okay.
Okey-doke, any other questions? Thank you so much for
Thanks so
coming.
much. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.